Well, there are many concerns that a couple can face if one spouse suddenly becomes disabled. Beyond the health issue, there are financial worries like how to make up lost income and paying for health care as well. So Colin Evans with Evans Financial Group joins us once again with what you should do if your spouse does become disabled. So Colin, let's go ahead and jump in.
Let's hop into it. We had to put together a couple concerns, and that first one, and this is, the biggest concern. This is loss of income. What do we do? Especially if you have a breadwinner or somebody that's kind of primary that brings home the bacon. Easiest thing that we highly recommend is at your place of employment, look to see if there is short-term and long-term disability. Typically in employer plans, they're very, very inexpensive to look for disability insurance. When you go into it for an individual basis, it ends up becoming very, very expensive because you're trying to insure your income. But when it goes into a group, it's being pulled together with several people, so that actually just helps with the cost and makes it pennies on the dollar as opposed to something that's actually very expensive. Emergency savings. You've heard me harp on this. This is something that comes up at least once a month. Get that savings account up to 3 to 6 months worth of those expenses, because that's something that you can rely on to hopefully where you're not having to pull from a credit card or savings and retirement accounts, things like that. If you've got something set for an emergency, this is the time to use it. This is supplemental income. If you end up, this runs out to be a longer deal, it might be time to look for, a career change or something along those lines that you have to, if it's time to bring in money, we might have to look at different avenues in there. But, one of the other big concerns is there could be increased costs, increased medical costs that could come into play. And so this is, how is your health insurance? Maybe you can rely on, hopefully your spouse has it and it can be carried over on there, or do you have to use COBRA, the extension of benefits, and taking those? Are there any government programs such as Medicare or Medicaid? Are you able to get on and qualify for any of those? It's just something else to look into. Also visit with an accountant and look for anything tax deductible, because sometimes medical expenses have thresholds, and if you're starting to go over them, you can actually put those into deductible accounts, so that can help save some tax dollars on that one. And then finally, as we finish, is what happens to retirement, and long-term kind of goals actually get thrown in there. This is a time to review a little bit of that, because you might actually have to start accessing some of these funds. This might be something that we might have to start putting an actual kind of income stream or an income plan together to make these funds also last while you're going through disability. What disability benefits are out there? I highly do suggest making sure that you look at Social Security disability to see if there is that qualification. And lastly, visit with a financial professional. Sometimes they can put some of these worries to ease and help you, give you some ideas to look at other options for it. Just making those funds last and making the absolute best of kind of a terrible situation if that arises.
It's really important to make sure that you're exploring every avenue, is what I'm hearing.
It really is. Just because this is an unknown, and some of the things that we discuss in the financial world, we kind of have to prepare for some unknowns. And while it does happen, the odds of it happening to you might not be high, but they can. One of my dearest friends actually ended up on an extreme disability and had to go through Social Security disability for several years. So it was great that he was able to tap into that.
And it's really important to make sure that you're looking at it, just like you said, like on a case-by-case instance, because what one person's circumstances may be could differ greatly from somebody else.
Tremendously, tremendously. It is. And that comes into, in financial planning in general, it's no two cases are the same.
So just making sure that you sit down, talk with a financial advisor, an accountant, and reaching out to your company, their HR, their human resources department can really be beneficial.
Absolutely, it sure can.
Well, Colin, thanks for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having us again.